you're in Dominica, the Caribbean, or the rest of the world, it is wonderful to be with you for another episode of Roots Connections on Q. Right here on Q95, the big station. It is great to be back with you as we continue to tap into our human resources at home and overseas for the advancement of our people, our beautiful island, Dominica, and the Caribbean region by extension. As we continue to recognize that we now live in a world where change is the only constant. As always, we continue to pray for our country, Dominica, and all the challenges we continue to face. Today, we especially pray for our young men and women that they will be provided with opportunities to advance their lives today and in the future. So, again, welcome to Roots Connections on Q. I am your host, Simone Mathieu, and this is episode number 49 for today, June 28th. 2023. We have another packed program, another timely program for you this evening as we look at our small businesses, the opportunities and the challenges in this ever-changing world. So today our conversation is about the general state of employment in Dominica. And I know some will already challenge me and say maybe that should be the general state of unemployment in Dominica, but we're going to look at the implications of unemployment. We're especially going to look at youth employment, self-employment. And, I have to say that we're going to have our focus especially on the young men of Dominica, because I think that there is a silent crisis going on with our young men in Dominica. I mean, just yesterday, we heard of yet another murder, a brother killing a brother in Wesley. So I think there's a lot going on with our young men that we need to be paying more attention to. So because we're focusing on our young men, I thought it was important this evening to have a panel of three inspirational men who are all business owners. One is in Dominica and two live right here in the Atlanta area. And I wanted them to be on board because they've walked in the shoes of so many of our youth in Dominica, and they have been able to pave a path of success for themselves. So we are looking forward to hearing from them. So with that, let us welcome our panel. We have Mr. Carlos Charles, owner of C Media Inc. and Phoenix Equipment. We also have Mr. Jeffrey Cuffey, owner of JC EC Construction LLC and Roseau Beverage Company. And we especially want to thank Jeffrey for his commitment, because right now he is stuck at an airport. And because he made a commitment to be on this program, he is now in the airport, but still joining us for the program. So we're going to give him the opportunity to always start the conversation because his flight is in about 1 hour. So he is waiting at the gate. So I think we can already see that he's a man of his word, and he's a man who's very committed to the advancement of Dominica. And then our third guest is Mr. Ricardo St. Amy, owner of Black Star Freight LLC here in Atlanta, Georgia, and also the owner of Northeastern Funeral Home in Dominica. So we're going to ask them to now unmute their mics and introduce themselves. And again, we're going to go ahead with Jeffrey first. Hopefully we won't hear too much of the airport noise, but if we do, please bear with us, because again, he is waiting to board his flight. So Jeffrey, thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here, of course, with my fellow man and with you on Q95. So I'm just pleased that I was still able to make it, even if it was a little bit hectic. All right.
Yes, yes. Thank you for joining us. We will go over to Ricardo. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ricardo St. Amy from Wesley. Black Star Freight is my company here in the US, and I'm also co-management of the Northeastern Funeral Association in Dominica. With us, so I'm here this evening to share my insight, share my knowledge into whatever aspect that anybody needs help in. I'm here for you guys this evening. So I'm thanking Miss Simone as well and the big station Q95 for allowing me the privilege to be on your platform this evening.
Yes, thank you for being here. And of course, we have Carlos Charles, and if his last name sounds familiar, we are honored that his dad, Mr. Lambie Charles, is always the one who does us the honor of being our guy on the radio. So, Carlos Charles is joining us this evening. So, Carlos, please introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening, Dr. Simone, and good evening to the listeners of Q95, and of course, Charlie Moore on the big station. My name is Carlos Charles, and I'm glad that you reached out and invited me to be here. Pleasant good evening to everyone.
Yes, thank you for being here, Carlos. So we have a lot to unpack this evening. So we want to thank our guests for taking some time out of their busy schedule to be here and guys, let me just remind you that I sent you the link for the Facebook Live. We're live on Facebook. And I also want you, if you have access to the Facebook page, to already go ahead and start posting your name, your business name, and your contact information, because I think it is so important, the work we are doing to build this network of Dominicans, build this network of businesses to help to advance Dominica. So again, it is great to be back with you for another episode of Roots Connection. This is our number one program for addressing the perennial question: how can we advance Dominica, and what role can each one of us play with this mission? And I know that your mind is instantly flooded with all the areas where we need change in Dominica. So whether it is electoral reform, which we are talking about, rightfully so, we are talking about electoral reform every day, whether it is improving police relationship. We saw the brutal beating of Mr. McCain Packet, or whether it is improving our healthcare system. We have so many battles to fight to advance Dominica. However, I think that we can also agree that financial independence is a high priority in these battles that we are fighting. We keep hearing about young people are losing their lives in Dominica. There have been so many deaths that I have lost count. Our young women are succumbing to all manner of illness at young ages. And I believe that our young men, I mentioned it before, they're facing a crisis that we are not paying enough attention to. Our young men are crying out for help with their behavior. They're either killing each other or they're living such reckless lives that lead to their deaths. And we have to wonder if our young men are living such reckless lives because they do not see the value of their own lives. They cannot find meaningful work. They do not see a future where they're gainfully employed and they can provide for themselves and their family. And they do not see opportunities to pursue their passions and to secure financial independence. So this is why this evening we're joined by a panel of men as we continue to provide hope and direction for our youth. So please invite every young person you know to listen to this program. And if they are not available, please encourage them to go on q95da.com from tomorrow to catch the replay. As always, we're looking forward to your contribution. Everyone in the audience who will call via the phone or who will log on to the Facebook and the YouTube channel. We are live on Q95 FM radio on Facebook and YouTube, and we are also live on Push Past 10 on Facebook. Don't forget to share the live and to click the notification button to find out whenever we go live. Remember, for the best in daily programming, q95da.com. The last time we had a great conversation with different associations around the world, different Dominica associations around the world, where we talked about how can we continue the movement to advance Dominica. So of course, Q95DA.com is where you want to go for all that information. We remain grateful to Mr. G and the Q95 family for providing this platform where we can tap into our human resources and begin the process of reversing that brain drain that has plagued the Caribbean region, Dominica. We are thankful for Lambi, Sherwin, DJ Shan, and everyone who ensures that this program continues. So as we continue with our theme, Invest in Me, Invest in Us, today we continue to focus on how do we build capacity needed to secure the future of Dominica? How do we turn that passion we have for Dominica into action for Dominica? Because the one thing we can all agree on is that every one of us who continues to be locked onto Q95 morning, noon, and night, like me, we all have one thing in common. We are passionate about Dominica and we want to see Dominica advance in so many ways. So, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the discussion. If you're joining us late, this is Roots Connections, and we are discussing our small businesses, opportunities, and challenges in this ever changing world. And our conversation is about the general state of employment in Dominica and the implications of unemployment or being underemployed in Dominica. So let us go back to you, Jeffrey. Again, we're starting with you, and I'm keeping a watch on the time for you as well. So tell us about your business, what line of work that you're into, how you got started, what caused you to be interested in that particular field.
Yes. So like everybody know, a lot of people know me by now, but they never know that I've always been into construction. My dad was a builder. My uncles were builders. Actually, used to stay in Antigua for a long time, and that's where I learned a lot of construction. And then I just found a passion for building. I was really passionate for looking at how things get constructed, bridges, houses. I always took a keen interest in that as a child, like from the age of 9. I already knew I wanted to build houses when I grew up. So I just I applied myself, most importantly, to learning the craft. So I had the opportunity while I was in Antigua to work from the ground in the mud, digging the trenches, mixing the mortar. We actually built a hotel here, a 5-star hotel called Hermitage Bay Hotel. I always say that building a hotel, it was cottages. I always say that was like my construction university. And by the time I was done working there, I could pretty much build a house from the ground up. I had the knowledge to do it, thanks to my uncle. And I migrated to the US. I became a construction manager because, although I love construction, I always knew I cannot stay working in the field all my life because I saw my dad and other members of my family. They've been in construction a very long time, but they're still working. They're older and they're still in the field working. And I kind of had a dream that I could do construction, but I could rise up in the ranks and become, a boss, so to speak, and be able to run the project rather than be in the sun every single day, working hard. So that was really my driving aspiration, was to be able to climb out of the field. But I understood that I needed to learn the field at the highest level to be able to come out of it and then, be able to run the field. And I did that before I came to America. And when I got here, I actually got the opportunity to become a manager. And I did very well. I actually got promoted multiple times in the space of 2 years. I was literally running an entire operation in Atlanta, in Union City. I built a community called Dodson Woods where we built over 199 houses in the space of like 3 years. Award-winning neighborhood, customer satisfaction average. And no, after the first year, going into the second year, I was there. It's like God just showed me that He didn't put me there to build for them. He actually put me to build for myself. And I kind of got a vision that I needed to start my own company and get the connections to be able to build a company for myself. And I kind of just did it because I like to follow whatever is on my spirit. And I decided I'm gonna start a company. I kind of wanted to name it Easy Construction because I always wanted to make construction easy. I wasn't available when I never know nothing about registering companies, so I started looking on YouTube, and searching online, reading up on how to start companies and businesses and stuff like that. And I learned so much interesting things. I was eager to have a business myself, and so then I started up a company. And actually, my mom helped me a little bit to get it registered to her house because I was just in America, newly in America, and stuff like that. And I kept working for the company. So I had my business for a while and nobody knew. And then in 2020, I read this book called Think and Grow Rich. And after after reading this book, it's like this book light a fire under my soul. I couldn't sit still. I just had to do something. And I was doing very well. I was pretty much making over six figures, in America, which is a great accomplishment. And then I quit my job. I fired my boss and decided to become my own boss. It was rough in the beginning, but since then I was able to take all the concepts that I learned as a construction manager. I was able to identify all the areas that could be done better, and I was able to start creating systems and processes. Now I'm maybe 3 years into it, almost 3 years into it, like 100% on my own, and we've come a long way. We're actually in a position now in Atlanta where we actually able to build new homes from the ground up. Actually studied and became a licensed general contractor. So now I can pull permits. I build a team of I have architects, engineers, civil engineers. I have my in-house staff. I have my wife Marilyn at home. She's my office manager. I have a full-time assistant manager that works with me. Imran Sheriff, is my like field manager as well. And then I have a big team of workers that are pretty much I could tap into at any time. Most of them Hispanics, and they do a pretty good job. So now we're at a position where we could actually, I got agents as well that work with me that have their own brokerage license. I have lenders that works with me that we could help people to source funding and things of that nature. I also like if you're doing repairs and renovations, I have construction funding that I can help you get stuff like that. So I put a whole system together where now if there's a customer that's interested in buying a home, we can literally put you with an agent, help you find your land. I will draw your plan, site plan, whatever it needs. I'll pull all the permits from the city. My in-house team would design your interior finishes, give you a full presentation of everything we're gonna do for you on the inside, outside, and take you from dreaming of a home to actually walking into a front door that is built specifically for you. So we're really set up right now to build from the ground up, custom homes, and we have a lot of beautiful, clean finishes that we introduce into the market. And I have software that I use to manage the business and to schedule, and so it's just amazing what we was able to accomplish. And I've built multiple custom homes so far, and I'm looking forward to building a lot more.
Yeah, thank you, Jeffrey. And I think we can already know that this is going to be a powerful program because you've just walked us through your entire journey of how you started from the bottom and now you've worked your way all the way to the top, and how you invested. This is what this program is about. You invested in yourself, you invested in learning, in training, in observing others, in not being haughty, in being humble, with regards to learning what you needed to learn, to being corrected, so that you're able to position yourself to where you are right now. So do me a favor, mute your mic because we can hear the airport noise, but don't forget to share your contact information on the Facebook Live. And of course, I will read out that information later in the program. So before you leave, Jeffrey, leave your contact information on Facebook. So Ricardo, let me come over to you and you can tell us about, and the other thing I want to point out really quick to everyone before Ricardo speaks is that what you will notice, and I only found that out when I was preparing for the program, is that all three of these men who are joining us this evening, they don't only have one business, they each have two businesses. And that speaks to the importance of diversifying, because I think that many times we become very complacent. Once we've accomplished one thing in life, we have one good job and we are sailing through and we become complacent. And then what happens? We get fired, we get laid off, and we are left hanging. So I think we can already see from the example of our men joining us today the importance of having multiple sources of income. So I want us to keep that in mind as we continue with the program. But Ricardo, let's come over to you and you can walk us through your beginnings and your journey in your businesses.
Hi, good evening once again. My name is Ricardo. I am from the beautiful village of Wesley. I I grew up in a family of the family of Mr. Richardson sent to me and Miss Jane St. Amy of Wesley, and my father came up with this idea of starting a funeral home when he came from St. Croix, and that was 40 years, some odd 40 years ago, and from there we have grown from our home to now having three different locations on the island of Dominica, and that aspect of the business is where he sent me to school to study to become a mortician, to become a funeral director. I went to school in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. After leaving school, I decided to join the military, where I stayed 5 years in the military. Did the Iraqi War and the Afghani Freedom War. I became a I got injured whilst I was in, so I became a disabled veteran. And after that, I went home. I went home to Dominica. I stayed in Dominica for about 6 years, right before Maria took place, and I started running. I had a tire repair shop in Wesley, one of the biggest tire repair shops on the northeastern side of the island, anyways. And I was bringing in tires maybe every 3 to 4 every quarter. I was bringing in a container worth of tires. So when Maria came through, it destroyed everything that I had invested in, everything, and I decided to migrate to the U.S. And when I came here, I was basically without anything. I was staying at a Miss Melinda Cameron, a lady from Dominica. That's Jeffrey's aunt. I was staying there, and in pursuit, I was like, I can't sit around here and not do nothing. So I went to school. I went to school for truck driving. I got my CDL, and then after going to school, once I was in school, I said to myself, "Yo, I can't work for nobody." So I did the school. I went and I worked for a company called PTL, Pascal Truck Line. And during that process, I decided to open up my own trucking company where when I got my LLC, I got my business registered, I got everything, all my documents in order. And then I just went and I bought a truck. I didn't have no contacts. I didn't know nobody in the trucking business, nothing. I didn't even know nothing about trucking, period. I was just like, let me try something. And then my first load I pulled it for a company called Star Seal. They're based here in Atlanta. And when I pulled that load, the people was like, "Yo, we like your style, we like your spirit." And I've never stopped working for them. I've been working for these people for 5 years. But all I do is pull their loads. I have my own business thing, but I just pull their loads for them year round. And I've been doing this for 5 years, since 2018, August of 2018. So this August coming will give me 5 years doing my own trucking business here in Atlanta. It has its ups and downs. Trucks break down. You get drivers who don't perform the way you would like them to perform. But at the end of the day, yo, is a never giving up attitude. If you come into this thing thinking that, yeah, I'm gonna make $1 million tomorrow morning, you are sadly mistaken. You're gonna have sleepless nights. You're going to have days where you're gonna be like, yo, I'm giving up. I'm done with this. This thing here so ain't for me. But when you keep on striving and you got people in your corner, man, you're gonna pull through. And trust me, I got people in my corner. I've been knowing Jeffrey for the past 5, almost 6 years, and we've been good. We've been communicating with each other almost on a daily, and he has been a very good motivator to me, because when he's going through his struggle, I'm there for him. When I'm going through my struggle, he's there for me. So we've been there for each other. And I'm gonna tell anybody in business, sometimes you may not have the funds to do it by yourself. Find somebody who could help you. There's a lot of people out there who could help. But I'm not gonna take up more of the time. Let me Simone go ahead and do her thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that, Ricardo. And again, thank you, Jeffrey, because Jeffrey was the one who recommended Ricardo for the program. So thank you for that, Jeffrey. And as you can see, we have so much to cover. But, after we speak to Carlos about his journey, what I want us to delve a little bit more into as we get started on our panel discussion is why fear did not stop you from pursuing your business ownership goals, because I think so many of us are paralyzed by the fear of failure. Boy, if I start that, I don't have money. How am I going to get started? How am I going to keep going? Where do I start? Where do I get information? And we have to talk about the power of YouTube, because I think YouTube should be a university at this point, because I cannot tell you the amount of things I have learned just from watching quality
Hmm.
YouTube program, not stuff that is just idle and goofy stuff to make you laugh. That's important too, to take a mental health break. But using resources like YouTube and Facebook groups to help you to get the knowledge and the skills that you need to be able to grow and develop a business. So keep that in mind, guys. Once Carlos has finished talking, let's talk about why fear of failure did not get in the way of you pursuing your business goals. Carlos, over to you. Tell us about your journey.
Hi guys. Interestingly, I did not start my career in the media business. In Along my journey in life, I started as an IT professional. So my first job, interestingly, Ricardo was one of my customers. I was just pointing out earlier that I was a computer technician running around Dominica installing computers for them. I did install for even Q95 as well. Install computers for Q for many customers all over Dominica. And then I move across to mapping telecoms, and then mapping to K4, mapping in receivership. Yeah, I went through that whole debacle. I was a network administrator. I grew up in the ranks. I was acting manager of the IT department. I had a whole set of responsibilities back then. However, from young, I always had a keen interest in the media business. In fact, my dad here, right in the in Q on Q right now, he gave me my first camera that I used to start my business. So it was a small Canon camera. And even further back, when I was in high school, I had a little. Do you know those old school photo cameras? I used to have that. I spoiled a lot of film already. And every time there was a school Creole Day, for example, I would bring my equipment, my lenses, and I would take my photos. The nice girls in the Creole outfits,
Only the girls, Carlos. Only the girls.
and yeah, but I was still in the IT focus on going in IT. But I props to my dad as well. We were probably the few people who had computers back when it was a luxury. So so when when it wasn't Windows 95 and Windows XP and those kind of things, I was way back in one of the DOS kids. You pushed the floppy drive in the computer, and you had to type all the commands. I was way back then. So that is what put me in the IT sector. And I still had the love for the media business. Fast forward to mapping days, I'm now working in a media company. Voila. Every time they're looking for me I'm not in the IT department, I'm in the newsroom, I'm in the studio, I'm somewhere around and I'm knocking at the guys there, and I getting to know the stuff that I didn't get to learn, but even not from YouTube. Actual practical experience from guys who are in the business, give you a couple tips, things that I would not have learned on my own, for example. And I eased into the production vibes. So I started doing weddings, funerals. Again, I would meet the centaurs. I did a lot of funerals back in the days in up Marigot and Wesley and all over Dominica before the thing. I used to tell persons from my guys at mapping, yo, let me tell you that now. You see that phone there, that little thing? We cut in our style for big cameras, but that phone going to put us out of business. Fast forward to now, the advent of who? MO News. But
Yeah.
but I moved on to doing. I focused on more event production. So I was able to do events such as Creole in the Park, the World Creole Music Festival. My company, and that is how I had to make sure that my company was registered, because when you're working with institutions such as those, you have to be a legitimate registered company, because some of them get funding from, so like, you don't need to go into those details, but you need to have a properly registered business. I mean, yes, people don't bother doing that, because if I making my money, I doing my business, so I don't really need to go and spend a 1,500 to go and register my company, register a company, when that 1,500 I could take that and put that into, other business expenses. But it's also a good thing to do. It's a good thing to do.
Yeah, let me, Carlos, I'll come back to you, but let me jump over to Jeffrey real quickly, because I'm keeping my eyes on the time and his flight. So, Jeffrey, let me come back to you, because let us start talking about why fear did not stop you from pursuing your goals, and also the importance of the people you surround yourself with keeping you motivated, because that plays such a crucial role in our success of our failure. So before you have to jump on that flight this evening, just tell us about why fear did not stop you and the importance of the people you keep around you.
Yeah, well, most importantly, the reason why fear would not and could not stop me is because I was filled of faith, right? And when you believe in something, and it becomes your definiteness of purpose, that like inside of you could already imagine yourself there. All the scary things that's gonna show up in front of you, I mean, it's gonna be scary, but you're gonna look past that, right? And it gives you a sort of confidence that takes you beyond your fears, right? And a lot of people, what they do is they allow all the things that they cannot control to kind of determine what they do, right? But most importantly is whenever you're faced with something that you that is beyond your control, it's always important to just take the time out to kind of just look at the situation, dissect it, and most importantly, put it before the Most High. Because if you have faith, God is always going to be first. And if you take the time out to really look into your root cause, you're always going to find a solution. And one thing I always do is I always tell myself there is a way to fix this. No matter how bad it gets, there's something I could do. And instead of focusing on the fear that it comes inside of you, then you start searching for the solution, which is around you, right? And it's very important, like I say, to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, people that actually have a vision like you do and have a direction, so you could lean on them and you could bring your problems to them. They have experience. They'll say, "Oh, I think you could probably try this or try that, or let me call this person for you," right? So that's the importance of having a what they call a mastermind alliance, not a group of people that you can actually rely on. And then, most importantly, on top of all of that, it's all about educating yourself. A lot of people, they're afraid because they don't know what they're doing. But instead, they don't take the time to go and invest the time in learning more about their craft and the things that they love. And then there's also the lack of passion. If you have passion, nothing can scare you because you would rather die than fail, right? So these are the main things I think gets us, or gets me most importantly, over my fears and pushing forward no matter what.
Yes, thank you, Jeffrey. And again, if you joined us late, I just want to apologize for the background noise in Jeffrey's area because he's at the airport waiting to catch a flight, but he made a commitment to be on this program. So he is here with us. So, Jeffrey, just mute your mic so we don't hear the background airport noise when you get a chance. And Ricardo, let me come to you. Why did fear not
So,
stop you?
guys, I actually gotta go. Okay. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll still stay locked in, but I gotta go. All right. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
and I will share your information. Thank you for posting it on Facebook. I will share it at the end of the program. Thank you, Jeffrey. Safe flights.
Yes. Blessings to all.
All
Yeah,
right,
man.
take care.
Safe
Good
flight,
night.
thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ricardo, let me come to you. Why fear
Yes.
didn't stop you and the importance of the people you surround yourself with.
Well, I'm gonna say in the beginning I was very fearful because I was like, yo, I invest a lot of money into this thing here and I don't wanna lose it. But at the end of the day, is like Jeffrey said, you have to have faith in something. You got to believe in yourself because ain't nobody gonna do this for you but yourself. And I had that drive in me, like, yo, I can't give up. No matter how many obstacles I've faced, I'm like, yo, I can't stop. I cannot stop because I was I had my daughter at the time and I'm like, I gotta do something for her. I can't leave her without nothing. And that was one of my motivating drives at the end of the day, in the end of the process was my child. She was I needed her to be behind. I needed to make sure that I provided for her a safe space, adequate, how you call that, I had to be a man. I had to step up as a father, and I did not want to fail, and I wanted to set an example for her to show her that no matter how difficult life gets, no matter how many things that come up, you'd never give up. And then, when from the military standpoint too, in the sense that that was driven into my mind, like, don't ever stop. We can't stop until the mission is over. And my mission is not over. So I will never stop. And then meeting people like Jeffrey, meeting other people in life as I grew up in doing business in Dominica, doing business here, it, I saw other people's example, and I said I have to pursue that because I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let my child down. And I know that there's other people who's looking at me to give them an example so that they could also pick up that mantle and follow. Because we have to be each other's keeper. And if we are not here to help one another along life's journey, we are all gonna fall short some way, somehow. And that was part of my motivation, being
Mhm.
there to provide for my daughter and never having that attitude that you have to set an example for other people to see. And when you quit, who everybody gonna laugh at you, and I don't like people to laugh at me. So that was one of my motivational factors there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ricardo. And again, thank you for your service, your military service to the protection of this country.
Thank you.
Carlos, let me come over to you. And then, let us get into the nitty gritty of the conversation, because I think, this wonderful motivational session we're having is very important. But the purpose of this program, as we continue to talk about the challenges and opportunities for our small businesses and the implications of unemployment in Dominica, is I want for those who have an idea, those who have a passion, those who are looking to pursue self-employment, to get into business for themselves, whether it's a young person, a young man, to give himself more opportunities, a young woman, anyone, all the folks who've been stuck in dead-end jobs and they know there's so much more that they've been called to do. I want us to talk about, how do you get it done? And a lot of people are stuck on, where do you get started? So let us talk about financing. How did you finance your business? So, Carlos, once you've had an opportunity to talk about the question we just posed before, then we're going to go into the conversation about finances. So, why did failure not stop you? And the importance of the people that you surround yourself with. And I can tell your dad, Lambie Charles, has certainly been a very good inspiration in your life.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying. I had a good example to look up to. Um, but in terms of giving up, failure wasn't an option. It's not only my dad as good examples, but even persons like some of my aunts. If you know Dr. Wallace, and
Mm-hmm.
there's another aunt of mine who is an accountant as well. These people were persons that I look up to, and I see that they started from almost nothing, and they work hard to get where they are right now. And in my grandparents, seeing the work ethic, and trying to keep the family together, trying to do all what they could to provide for their family. So, for example, at at mapping, I was I I was a little phased out in order to the work. I put it like that. I was starting to be phased out in order to the work that I was doing. But at the same time, I already had the interest in the media stuff, and I started doing the work, doing my little media business. Business was coming in one by one. I I just went in it head on. I saw my dad doing it when he was doing his various business enterprises. I saw him going at it head on. I That's the example I knew. That's the exact example I would follow naturally. When you talking about surrounding yourself with persons who are good. I mean, yes, I met persons such as Mr. Val Coffey. I mentioned I did some stuff for the DFC, for the World Career Music Festival, and that is how we became close, because of the same work ethics. He would come and ask me for certain things to get done. So night one, so, boy, I need something on for that VIP there. What can you do for me? And before the end of the day, the following day, it's already done. So, boy, and that is how we became friends. Now you talk about financing.
Mm-hmm.
Now I you 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 get some financing from the from loans, as well as personal. I was already working. I was already gainfully employed. So a lot of my money that I would get from my salary, and even doing projects, it was going straight into investment for the business. So I would buy my my projectors. I would develop. I was probably the first person in Dominica to do screens. but they were projected screens. So much so that I used my service was used for one of the government's events. I used to be all over the island doing LED screens for the election campaign. I remember I used to laugh when I saw a report come out about rallies and big screens and bringing people all over the place. I say, yes, boy, Carlos, boy, you go, you, your name just don't call, but you're reaching as people report. But yes, what that those are the kind of things that I would do to finance my business. To get whatever money I make,
Mhm.
I would, people used to be afraid to buy things on eBay, for example. I would do my research on YouTube to find out which was the best projector that was industry standard, and I look up the price on one of the B&H photo studio that's the go-to company for purchasing equipment. And when I look at that, boy, to spend $3,000 to buy that there, whereas I can get a used one on eBay for a third of the price, and that can work fine for me.
Mhm.
Work
Yeah,
fine for me.
so you're speaking very well to investing in your company, Carlos. I think many young people, they get that paycheck and they want to go buy a big thick gold chain. They want to go buy fancy shoes, fancy
Oh,
clothes.
I've
But if
never
you
done
have
it.
a dream, you have to have a sacrifice and you have to defer gratification. And I also want to come back, Carlos and Ricardo, to that work ethic. But let me give Ricardo an opportunity to answer that important question, because I think that is where a lot of people who are interested in starting a small business get stuck. They get stuck on the financing. How do I pay for what I need to get the business going? So, Ricardo, your thoughts on that?
All right. Well, my thoughts on that is I remember when I was in Dominica, I planted a little cucumber garden. It didn't take much. What was a pack of seeds, like what, $5 or something like that,
Mhm.
and I made more than $5 off my pack of seeds. So I utilized that money and I invested that money back into myself. And also another way to get financing. I'm not even going to tell you go to no credit union, but I'm sure you got some auntie, some uncle, some sister, some nene, some power, somebody somewhere. Everybody can give you a $5, and you have to have the mindset that I'm gonna use this money and invest it into my dream. Because there have many a times I'd be like, yo, why this man have this big chain? And I hear you talk about the chain there. I'm like,
Mhm.
I could go buy 10 chains right now, but what are they gonna show? Like, oh, he have money? Nah. You have to think smart with your money. I've invested in a lot of my equipments. I've bought what, since I've been in America doing the trucking business. I bought 4 trucks, you know.
Wow.
So, and a truck is not $10. So at
Mhm.
the end of the day, you have to think smart and be like, yo, I want to achieve something, and I have that drive, that mission, that focus to go ahead and do it. Because sometimes we lose focus and we tend to stray a little bit, but that's why you have to have them people in your corner to help you, put you back on that track and be like, yo, you messing up a little bit, get
Right.
back in line. And once you get back on that track, you just got to keep on striving. I will always say there's always obstacles in the journey, but your obstacles make you stronger. Every obstacle that I have faced has put me back on that track and has made me not go back into that same hole again, but keep on climbing, keep on pushing. And no matter where you start, you could start as having a pack of cucumber seeds, you could start as cutting hair, doing whatever, but you try and you never stop trying, because one day you never know where that trial is going to take you, who is going to see you. Just as Mr. Carlos said, He did all kind of things for World Creole Music Festival, for all kinds of things. Is always trying. You have to try. Even if you fail, but you never give up. You always get back off your ground and you keep on trying. You keep on climbing.
Yeah, and Ricardo, I'm so happy you mentioned about your nanan and your power, because I have to tell you that is how I went to college.
Okay.
Everyone knows my story. I come from no means. When it comes to finances, I was richly blessed with wonderful values from my mother, Medina Senhouse, and all the women who raised me. But I had a father who was an alcoholic, and my cousin told me, "How are you going to go to university on the rum bottles that your father drinks?" True story. And I refused to give up because I had a dream to go to university in the US. And I had no other option, because the so-called bank in Dominica, we're not going to call no names, that is supposed to be providing student loans, I literally walked to that bank for an entire year. And because one person was not available for that entire year, I could not secure a student loan. But because I was determined, yes, I leaned on my nenan. And my godmother, for those who do not know what the term nenan means, was the one who put up her land to secure me a loan at another institution in Dominica so I could go to college. So, what you speak is the truth, that when one door closes, you cannot just sit and say, well, that dream die, and let me go sit on the block with the rest of the guys who are sitting on the block who are poisoning themselves, smoking cigarette and smoking marijuana. No, you find the people who are doing what you already want to do. You surround yourself with them, you share information, and you find out, hey, how did Ricardo get into where he is today? How did Carlos get to where he was today? Because I'm guessing that you guys don't come from wealthy families who had big surnames and had big jobs, but you came from humble beginnings. Ricardo, let me come back to you. And then I want us to go, the time is always speeding on me, but I want us to go into the importance of that work ethic, because both of you, Ricardo, you've spent time in Dominica recently, and Carlos, you live in Dominica. I want you to tell me, what are your observations in terms of the work ethics of Dominica? Because I always say, when I grew up, we grew up poor, but the one thing we knew how to do was work hard. And my concern is that with this handout mentality that we are seeing in Dominica now, I am afraid that that work ethic is being stripped from the Dominican psyche. And that is very dangerous, because once you've changed that work ethic, you have paralyzed people, and you've paralyzed generations of people who no longer have that work ethic to provide for themselves and to advance their lives. So, Ricardo, let me come to you. I think you wanted to add something, and then let's talk about the work ethic. And then Facebook, I see all the great comments coming in, so keep them coming and get ready, guys. We are about to take your calls in a little while. Ricardo?
Yeah, I was gonna say also, I had a couple of friends who invested into my dream. Like my cousin and another friend of mine's, and they put up a lot. They put up, like, I didn't have all of the money when I first started,
Mhm.
and they put some money into me. They was like, "Yo, we know you got the drive. Let's just try." And they didn't even ask me back for anything,
Mhm.
because they was
An
like
investment.
they were glad to see that I succeeded. The only achievement, the only thing that they wanted to see was me being successful in my business. And sometimes that's all some people want from you as a person. If they give you some funds, is to see that you really went out there and you achieved that goal. You achieved that vision that you had. I've invested a lot of money into people back home as well too. I sent like three people to school so far.
Mhm.
I don't mind. I've invested. I have never been shy on investing. And you asked a question about the drain of, like, where the young guys sitting on the block and stuff like that. I and they're not going out there and working. I think that they have lost the back in the day, a lot of bananas was being sold in Dominica. Our agriculture economy was booming, and right now we don't even have an agricultural economy. We don't have an economy where anybody is benefiting for themselves personally. Everybody is dependent on the so-called the government to give them something. Everybody's looking for a handout, and I think that is a very dangerous road that we have been traveling on, because now people, if I have a friend who does tow trucking in Dominica, and he said before he get a phone call, the person going with a coming to a letter with him and like, yo, my power up say I will pay, like, what happened to your independence, my brother? What happened to you as an individual being able to stand on your own 2 feet and not gonna ask no power up to do nothing for you? We are all human beings, and this thing right here, it burns me to my heart, because a lot of businesses are suffering because of this. My pal rep will pay, or the government will pay, or they send you some, and I don't want to go into that. Mr. Carlos, go ahead.
Yeah, and just one other thing quickly. Lambi, if you can check, I think Jeffrey's flight unfortunately is delayed again. You know, it's a big headache at the airport these days. So just check to see if you can see him in the StreamYard and to let him back in, please. Yes, Carlos.
Yeah, what were we what um we're talking about
Work ethic.
the work ethics. In my mind, it's not just the people work ethics that have changed. The mindset in Dominica, a lot of things have changed. We need to start doing a mindset change in Dominica. For example, things
True.
such as the education system,
Mm-hmm.
the way things are now as compared to how things used to be before, that has contributed a lot of to the not just the brain drain, but the mindset that people have right now. We used to have a lot of technical vocational training schools. We used to have a lot of the GSP system. Granted, we now have universal secondary education, but we should have found a way, while we want to make sure we leave no child behind, should have found a way to include a lot of the technical stuff. Because when you look at it, a lot of the industries and the big men in Dominica came from a technical background.
Mhm.
Not everybody is going to be a business or accounts major. In the state college, there used to be a mechanic segment in it. That is where persons like my brother started before he became a certified mechanic. He went there and he got trained. That is where friends, like, I don't have to call a lot of other friends of mine who are in various industries, but they went through those systems, and they learned how to, for example, cut a board. A lot of our furniture factories, that is where a lot of the people started learning. And the apprenticeship system, that that is weak. So that now caused the mindset, a lot of the people, and I'm not let's not even go on the way the government system is set up, with the dependency issue that we have, and Richie mentioned it earlier on. That is contributed to a lot of the issues that we have right now.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're waiting for Lambi to come back. But if you tuned in late, you're listening to Roots Connections, and we're talking about the opportunities and challenges that small business face in this ever-changing world. And we're talking about the general state of employment in Dominica and the implications for unemployment in Dominica. So let us talk specifically about what you're observing with young men in Dominica, because as we talked about in the beginning of the program, I get this sense that there's a crisis going on with our young men where they're seeing very little value in their lives. So they're living this reckless lives that are leading to their deaths. We're seeing a lot more violence among our young men. I have lost track of how many boys have killed boys in Dominica at this point. And if somebody on the Facebook Live or somebody who will call in can tell us the number to date, I would truly appreciate it, but I have lost track. So what are you seeing as men of Dominica? What are your observations about our young men and opportunities that would help them to change their lives? Because, for example, what comes to mind is we don't even have the Boy Scouts anymore. I was shocked to find out that the Boy Scout organization is no longer functioning in Dominica. So where are boys learning socialization skills? We know that a lot of boys are growing up with their moms, and we bless the hearts of the women who have to take on the role of mother and father in Dominica. But there's certain aspects of manhood that has to be taught by a man. So I am wondering, where are these young boys learning their socialization skills, right? So are there other role models that are in their lives showing them, how to be a man, right? So let us just talk about your observations about what you see going on with our young men in Dominica. And then Lambi, we will come over to take the phone calls.
Yeah, I will comment that while you're saying the Boy Scouts is no longer in existence, they still represent every year at independence and so on. So they must be somewhere. And
Yeah, from what I understand, they are no longer
also
functioning.
there's also the Cadet Corps that I'm
Mhm.
aware is functioning.
Mhm.
They actually travel for training and so on. What I will say, it comes back to what I said earlier. Is a mindset thing. Now I was commenting to a friend of mine earlier today that one of the problems we have in Dominica is the lack of money circulating in the economy. So that will affect a lot of the small businesses that are attempting to survive in Dominica. And when these businesses, I mean, recently I saw a list came out with a set of these small businesses that closed down.
Mhm.
Eventually, that when people get fed up, they still have to feed their families. You have to feed your daughter, you have to feed your son, your mother. Your mother may not be working anymore. Those kind of things, and you still have your light bill to pay. Flo not going to tell you. Um, they will tell you you have to pay for the next plan. So the
Mhm.
problem we have is the fact that there's not enough money circulating in the country, plain and simple. So there's no economy right now. So now the small businesses get affected.
Right.
This,
And the other thing we have to recognize, Ricardo, I'm coming to you. The other thing we have to recognize as well is the small businesses are the backbone of the economy,
yeah,
right? So as our small business continue to thrive, we will have a thriving middle class. Because what we are seeing, and I know folks are going to say, well, that is happening everywhere, but my focus and my passion is on Dominica. So we're going to focus on Dominica this evening. What we are seeing is that you have a widening gap where the rich are getting richer in Dominica and the poor are getting poorer because the small businesses are closing. And it begs the question, what can be done to ensure that our small businesses continue to thrive in Dominica? And in my mind, that leans to, government intervention, as well as how are we supporting our small businesses in Dominica as well. So, Ricardo, let me come over to you, your observations about young men in Dominica. And then, Lambi, we're going to come over to take the phone calls.
I hear you make a statement about the rich is getting richer. I don't even think that statement is true. I don't even think that statement is true. Because the other day I was looking at a clipping of one of the massive guys talking about the circulation of the money. Like Mr. Carlos said, the money is not circulating, and if every time you do a business for somebody, you have to receive some form of notation from a pile rep or from somebody saying that they will pay your bill or pay whatever for you, there is no money because at the end, the flow is gone. And you and the young people in our community or in our country are suffering due to the fact that no funds, lack of proper education. Everybody is not going to be a doctor, but there could be plumbers, there could be
Yep.
electricians, there could be welders. And Mr. Carlos brought up that point that the GSP program was closed or is shut down. And a lot of people that I know in my community became skilled due to the GSP program. They got their skills from there, and they are now using their skills that they received from that institution, and that's what is building them right now in my community. I know a lot of guys who has gone through that program and are still surviving because of the education that they received from that. They might not have been book smart to say, oh well, I have 10 subjects or nothing like that, but that one plumber, that one electrician, they have that, and that's what is generating their main source of income. And I believe that as a people, we need to go back to certain things like those. We need to go back to our farms. We need to go back to where we educate people on a holistic level of knowing that we don't have to all, I'm not saying that we don't have to go to school, but we don't have to all be doctors. We don't have to all be professor this and professor that.
Yep.
We can be Farmer Brown and still have that education that we gained from school. And I think we've lost that in the whole scheme of where we having everybody go forward in school. It's, I think we need to go back and readdress that issue to where we bring things back and people can feel that they are important. I also believe too where we lost a lot of our young people in the sense that we have legalized marijuana. We have legalized marijuana. I am not saying that in America is not legal, but what are we profiting from this legalization? Is there a profit? You tell me grow 3 trees in my yard, and then you still come in and arrest me for the 3 trees I have in my yard. So what was the point of that? So we have lost a lot of our young people due to the fact that people don't care about us as small people. They care only about their pockets and line their pockets. And then at the end of the day, whoever get, and whoever don't get. And so everybody's complaining. Everybody is feeling the pinch. Everybody's. I mean, I'm in Dominica 4 times a year, maybe more, and I know I see the struggle because there's when I first left Dominica, I left in 2000. I went back to Dominica in 2005. That was my first time going back after I left the first time. And there was no significant change in my community. Not one bit of change. You get what I'm saying? Like, why, and to this day, it's almost the same thing. The change that has happened in the community has probably digressed. There's nothing, no real improvement besides them now moving the people from one end of the village to the other end for the airport project that's supposedly going on. There has never been no significant change to the economical standings of anybody in the community. Everybody is suffering. Everybody is feeling hungry, and it's like nobody's hearing our cry. But I'm not here for
Yeah, powerful stuff, Ricardo. Powerful stuff. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm so happy you brought up that the communities are regressing. And I want to hear everybody's thought about what's going on in their community in Dominica, because I think folks are quick to say we're crying down Dominica, where what we are doing and making observations. Because I'm from Bath Estates. I went home last year, and not only did I never grow up back in the 80s, 90s, living in Dominica, there was no such thing as boys hanging out on the block. Now I've gone back to Dominica, and not only do I see young men, young strapping men hanging out on the block, they've gone as far as making a bench. So now there's a bench on the corner of my streets, and every day you're on your way to town to do your business. Children are heading out to school. What do you see? 6, 7 young men sitting on that bench all day long, smoking.
Begging you for a drink.
Right? So am I crying Dominica down, or am I making an observation that this did not exist in Bath Estate when I grew up in Bath Estate? Right? So that has to beg some questions about what is going on with our young people, why they're not gainfully employed and advancing their lives. But I want to give everybody an opportunity to make a contribution. Carlos, you wanted to say something real quick?
But I was just saying, it's come back to what I was saying earlier. We need a mindset change because look at that. Ricardo has his family has the funeral home business, but he came to Dominica not depending on that. He came to Dominica and he started a tire repair business, so recognizing that in the Northeast that was lacking in that area. So he decided to provide that business. Likewise, other young people need to look at ways where there are vacuums being created. I mean, yes, the country stuff, I can tell you, operating in Dominica is very hard. So many of my friends are telling me daily, Carlos, what you doing here? Come out, Dominica. But you can find ways to make some ends to do something for yourself. But
Yeah,
let me
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And let me just jump on a comment I see on Facebook right here. June John Baptist, thank you so much for your comment. But I'm going to graciously disagree with you that lazy Dominican young men lazy. I completely disagree with you because I've said it before. What we see is that the same young men we accuse of being lazy in Dominica, when they migrate to places, and I had an example on my program the other day, a young man named Depeng, he's a Booyah artist. When this young man, the same young man, we say a lazy in Dominica, when they migrate to Little Antigua, they have 2 or 3 jobs. So how can we call them lazy when they go to other countries, they are quick to find employment and they find 2 or 3 jobs? So is it the young man or is it the system that is not providing a livable wage? When you tell me you're going to expect a young man
change the
to work
system.
construction and get paid $70 a day, so I'm going to graciously disagree with you, June, but I so want you to continue to contribute for the program. So, guys, let's take a break. We have to invite our callers to the program, but make a note of the thought you were going to say, Carlos and Ricardo. Lambi, over to you.
Okay, thanks. You are listening on Viewing Roots Connection and Q. We are about to take your calls right now. Let me give those numbers out. The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. These are all local numbers. The overseas number, 305-432-9624. I'll run those numbers one more time. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, the local numbers. The overseas number, 305-432-9624. We're standing by for your calls.
Yes, and guys, as I'm reading the comments on Facebook, just take a note of any comments you want to respond to. So we see Alvin Thomas. Alvin, as always, thank you for being here. He says good evening to you and your guests. Simone Winsty Choice Spot, blessings. Guys, Tazi St. Amy says good evening. Let's see who else we have with us this evening. We have Lenny Thomas. Good evening, all. Blessings, Richie. Sherlyn Davis, good evening to all. Blessings, Ricardo. Marlon Jacob, blessing, guys. Leanne Joseph, nice. Cal Kofi James, always great to see you. Greetings and blessings, Queen. Dr. Simone, oh, I'm Queen now. Thank you, Carl, and your entire panel. Lini says, businessman in action, wonderful blessing. I agree. Let's see. Celsi Marie Charles, great talk show, guys. Thank you for being here. Celsi Marie. Let's see who else we have. Alvin had gone and he came back. So thank you for coming back, Alvin. Alvin says no middle class anymore. And he says even the public works department has shut down. Lini Thomas, our young men and women need to learn skills. JSP was a very good program. Alvin says, well said, Ricardo. Elvis Pappy Edwards, my cannabis business plan was bringing over 20,000 jobs in Dominica. Wow, that is pretty impressive, Elvis. I wish you would connect with me. And, I connect with so many people on this program. So what I will do, I will post my email, pushpast10@gmail.com, in the chat. And Elvis, please feel free to connect with me if you would like to talk about that business plan, which would have created 20,000 jobs in Dominica. Certainly impressive. Eliza Lewis Gums, good night. Marshall Lawrence, interesting discussion as always. Good evening. Elvis says again, Dominica is not ready to be free from poverty. Let's see, Alvin, wow, profound. June, we mentioned your comment before. Again, please continue to contribute as well. Eliza, Lambie, and Alvin, good night. Elvis, Dominica, not lazy. They just need opportunity. Elvis, I could not agree more. Sherlyn, the system is frustrating and there is no motivation. Elvis, Dominica could be making cannabis sunscreen. Wow. For the world and the Caribbean. Elvis, we certainly need to connect to talk about this even more. Alvin says, June, the system let down the young people. I completely agree. Victorious as God's plan. The point is, Simone, the system is making it difficult for young men to be motivated and ambitious when a system is giving young men stipend from the state, from political gains. What do you expect? And then Marshall says some young persons need to come together and create joint businesses. For example, production, manufacturing, processing, packaging, managing, marketing, selling, shipping. Excellent point, everyone. Thank you so much for your contributions. And Carl says definitely I'll just say the system, Carl. I will not say it the way you wrote it, is scaling the country. So again, guys, thank you for your contribution. Carlos and Ricardo, I want you to comment on anything that you read in the Facebook messages today.
Well, I know Mr. Elvis Pappy Edwards, and his business. He shared his, because I do a live program as well, and he shared his business plan with me, and I was very much taken back by what happened to his proposal that he brought to the people in charge. And his idea, basically they tried to steal his idea, and we have people who are willing to give back to their country, and they are trying to take it from us. They're not there to motivate us, to help us strive and make something out of our nation. They want to keep everything to themselves, fatten their pockets, and everybody else hungry. Everybody have to come to me and beg me, and I'm sorry, before I even say anything else, Carlos was saying that people was encouraging him to leave the country. One of the worst decisions I've made was to leave Dominica. In the sense that I feel like I've taken away from Dominica instead of giving to the country. Because when we all leave, who have the vision, who has that strive to make something happen, when we all leave as people like that, who's gonna be left? What are we leaving our country to, or who are we leaving it for? You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that me leaving wasn't good for me at that moment, but the decision, if I could go back in time, I probably would be still in Dominica, because there's a lot of potential on my island. There's a lot of people who are innovative, who can take our country further, and we just need to keep on pumping and giving. And sometimes the road is rough, the road is rocky, but we can't stop. Go ahead, Carl.
Absolutely. Carlos, any thoughts on the Facebook comments?
I am along the line with what Elvis said, and guys like Carl Carl James, even if the way he put it. But I remember my both grandparents having a copra processing plant at their homes. These are what these are the things that created the middle class back then. This is what sent a lot of young people to school. This is what that was allowing persons to walk into companies like Sag Motors back in the day with their crockers bag with cash money and go and buy their vehicle, get their duty free concessions, and go back on their farms. I was one of those. I mean, I thank credit to my father. I was one of the enterprising ones, and I used to get guys to come. I used to import vehicles for persons, but that allowed me to have my first vehicle of my own at 18 years old, going to college with a vehicle. You think that can happen now? Don't it's tough for a young person coming up, It's very hard. For,
Yep, absolutely. And I'm really.
the brain drain is affecting Dominica a lot negatively than we even care to even speak of. Look at the nurses. All every nurse that goes through the nursing training system, the first thing they're looking for is for their first opportunity to go to England or America. Yes, they will come into work in the hospital, but the first opportunity they get into go to work in a hostel or some caring home in the UK, they will grab it and run because, like Richie was saying, it's better for them personally, but for the country that is bad. Then we have to bring in foreigners to augment the lack of persons in the various sectors. That's why we have with so many Spanish doctors and nurses.
Yeah, we have a call coming in. So let's take the call, guys.
Good evening, caller. Thanks for joining us. You may go ahead.
Yes, lovely. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, yeah. Good night. What I'm saying, I am from the village of Saint Joseph, and I could tell you, back in the day, we had stuff happening in Dominica. We had this manufacturing, we had agriculture, we had all sorts of things going on in Dominica. Right now, scary, which is the Prime Minister, he has made the young people dependent. He made them dependent. So right now, he gave them an ounce of marijuana to smoke on the side of the road. They could come to his office and get a cool out. They don't have to work. So the government creates that society in Dominica right now, and now they're calling the young people lazy. We are not exporting nothing. Which country without public works going to survive? Which country is exporting nothing going to survive? So we have to understand the young people in Dominica right now, all they know is Labour Party and scary. So it's going to be difficult to turn that thing around. He keep giving them call out every election, he give them money, he give them CO, and that's all they care about. We need to go back to agriculture, manufacturing, creating jobs that the young guys don't have to be on the side of the road and expect the pirate to give them something every month. Even if they got to work for what they want, then they'll go to work. And if the government create their venues, create jobs, then they will work, but they're not lazy. But the amount of marijuana they will carry in their pocket right now, back in the days they would carry a spliff, now they will carry a whole ounce in their pocket.
Mhm.
And that is all for political points. Kerry did that, nothing more. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, caller, for your contribution. And, I'm really happy that Marshall mentioned, production, manufacturing, processing, because Q95 is really at the forefront of supporting our businesses. Because I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but there's a new program. I want to make sure I get the name completely right. Nature Island Small Business Buzz. And it is all about supporting local entrepreneurs. How do we go from small to tall? And I want to thank Mr. G because, that whole idea of the program came from a conversation we had right here on Roots Connections with Jody Dublin and a few other people who were talking about the importance of supporting businesses in Dominica. And from that, we've now created, Nature Island Small Business Buzz, where there will be an opportunity to continue pretty much what we're doing this evening to educate and inform those who either want to begin a business, who have a business and they're struggling to move the business to the next level. So again, we want to thank Q95 for being on the forefront of supporting our small businesses in Dominica. But the conversation we're having, guys, is the importance of opportunities and challenges. So tell us about some of your opportunities and challenges that you faced in this ever-changing world, and just how are you navigating the world? How have you been able to maybe tap into our Dominicans overseas, or Dominicans who are not in your immediate area, to expand your business? Because we have to talk about how do we continue to grow our small businesses despite the challenge. So let's talk a little bit about that, the importance of maybe technology, the importance of maybe using WhatsApp, some opportunities and challenges that you currently face.
And I'm very glad that you brought that direction to the conversation, because that's exactly where I was going to go with, as a response to what the previous caller did. Yes, we know that the industry is in shambles. We know that government is doing little onto nothing to help the young people. But what can happen is we don't depend on government to do what we need to do. Richie is doing a business. I am doing a business. There are persons overseas who are resource people. Say, for example, me in the media business, one person that I always call on who is in the business is a guy called Felix Augustine Jr. You may know
Yep.
him. He's a guy that is a resource person for me personally in the industrial, he will always give me good advice. Now for persons like Jody and so on, a lot of their work doesn't have to depend on. Yes, we know Dominica doesn't have money, but we have to look at getting money from outside. You have to look at export. So even though next year and Invest Dominica not doing what you expect them to do, we have to come together and find ways to make the money from the people overseas. So whether it be we decide, hey, DCP start back doing their corporate their soap production, so that means they need the oil. So the copper need to get produced. Somebody need to go to them to say, hey, that not happening there. How can we get that going again? Somebody need to go to the persons who producing the soups on a smaller scales. For example, the ladies in Grand Bay. And how can oil producing? Yes, we can sell in Dominica, but what can we do for us to export? You know, so you can make that money with other markets. over, because people like the Dominican products, you know. They love our Dominican, and we have to lean into that, our diaspora community. That's a very powerful tool that we're not paying attention to.
Absolutely, Ricardo.
Yeah, I cannot say this might sound kind of thing, but you know how all Dominican people like SeaWorld, right? We like to party, we like to jump up and drink rum and things. In those events, that's what I have done a lot of networking with people. Despite they drinking, but we still exchange our phone number. I might not talk to you today, but I will call you tomorrow when we sober, when we clear minded. And I have gained a lot of business contacts that way. And to piggyback on Mr. Carlos's point he was making about DCP, when I was growing up as a child, I grew up as Seventh Adventist, and we were building a school called the Temple SD School in Wesley, and that's what we as church members had to go and do. We went to the fields and we were picking up coconut and we was baking them in the bakery, in the copra house, and then taking it down to DCP to make money. We also went up in the forest and cut trees and make coals.
Yeah,
So
hold that thought, Ricardo. Let's take the call. Make a note of what you're saying.
Good
Yes,
evening,
sir.
caller. Please go ahead with your call.
Hi, good night, Lambert,
Good night.
and the guests on
Good
board.
night. Good evening.
I just heard a gentleman speak. I think it's Richie or somebody. My name is Ronnie, by the way. I do manufacturing local products, oils, herbs, spices, different products, and I also supply some of the people that do manufacturing. For instance, Jody.
Mm-hmm.
One of the difficulties I find, I don't know if it's because of how the system set up, like the government structure the system. What you find, they put $30 million in the bank, in aid bank for small business people. Me, personally, I have some application in there, maybe almost free, going on 3-4 years. And every time a year finish, they call you back to renew the document. But you find other people that not in small business getting those money through the system, because the Prime Minister can't look about all those things. We put the money there, it have to have a supervisor, loan officer, management. What you find, these people structure the system where they get their friends and their family, and they send them and register company, and they get in those money, 50,000, 60,000, and you out there struggling, you don't even have a tent in Roseau, you don't have good marketing, as Richie was just saying. Everybody's on their own, drowning, swimming, left, right, like the Titanic sinking. And it's like you don't get it nowhere. You go to the ministerial buildings, and the people that give you more help in the ministry, it's the same little poor people in the government office. Sometimes when you go there, the minister's trying to assist you. They are the ones that fighting with you face to face. Sometimes, yes, the politicians set the agenda, but then we ourselves become our own enemy. Look at Roseau. Roseau becoming a foreign enterprise. And you find now all the people that have stores, they're uniting. They are foreigners and they're uniting, but we're not uniting. I mean, look at in Marigot, you had a young guy, I think, James, Julian's son, he was making a breadfruit flour. You had John Robin and his son in a production up there. You have Stewart Paris in the cocoa industry. And many, many others. You have Arthur doing some local herb spices. I think it's a Prince, Miss Prince, a granddaughter for Mr. Prince. She do local products. And all of them telling you they don't have a financial strain, because around 3 weeks ago, they had a big exhibition at the stadium. And Curtis that was interviewing them, Mathieu on DBS, and everyone is telling you they're under financial strain. So sometimes we have to look beyond the system, because I can tell you, some people rather to die on the road than they go in the hospital. Some people rather to die hungry than they go to the government headquarters, even you're doing business, because they make it tough. And I'm telling you, you see these little secretaries and who the government put to run those offices. It can be the bank, it can be land, it can be... Look at even the Haitians complaining they're not getting citizenship. But you find people in the labor division, they're making more money than the treasury. And the Prime Minister walked in there some years back and he tell them there's racket going on. So even any ministry is a real thing is going on. You put them to run land, they're giving only their friends the land, and who that need the land cannot get. They're giving those that can take the loan to buy a piece of land, they're giving them the land. They get the people that get getting the money in the bank. They have a job, but they're still going and take the small business people money. And I tell you, it's very untidy. I myself here, I was in farming, I was in tourism, but manufacturing is the worst. Mr. G, Astafans, they used to do garments in the 70s, and it's the same political thing that caused that the government at the time don't give them duty free. You had all the raw food, you had, I think, a Moro man in Pottersville doing garments. I myself, I don't know what to do again. It's one of the hardest work I ever do, industrial work, because this thing needs machines. I'm not a machine. You cannot be trying to make 20 bottles a day and to get anywhere. I spent some years in farming, and that's the hardest work I take on, and I regret I take it on. It's people like Bobby and them that come and force me, Yvonne Nassif and Bobby. Isaac trained us, the Speaker of the House, he gave us a certification on our hands. He and Mr. William, the former president, with Dexia, the other European Union program, they train us, they give us a certificate. I just can't understand it. Anyway, good night.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, caller, for your powerful contribution. And he's absolutely right, because you get so frustrated. I talked about my experience of walking to the bank for a whole year and not getting anywhere. So this has been going on forever in Dominica, where it seems like these institutions are more interested in frustrating you, so you will stop trying to access the funding that you need either for your education or for your business, then they're set up to assist you. But guys, the other thing we have to talk about very quickly, and I did a program on this, is while our young men may not have the opportunities to start small businesses, what we are seeing now is the interest in illegal economies. Because people still have to eat, they still have to make money. So you may find that, well, they cannot go the legitimate route to get the income that they're seeking. So they find more dangerous options. And I think that is where a lot of all the violence, maybe over territories, who knows, is happening in Dominica. So do you have any thoughts on some alternative ways that young men are pursuing funding and money in Dominica?
Well, for one, according to what I've been hearing on the ground, even the illegal economies are not operating as how it used to be back in the day. So say that guys are turning to illegal. Illegal has always been there. So it's not like it's a new thing that people are turning to. What I will say that needs to be done, and even going back to what the last caller said, to address all those things, a lot of things come down to having a mindset change. We have to change the way we want to do business in our country. And that goes along through various sectors of society, even in the political realm that a lot of people are hinting at. A mindset change. I used to have a channel in Dominica. I used to run a 24-hour channel, and everybody used to be happy with that. It's called the Caribbean Video Network, especially young people. All the latest music videos, we used to run it on. We used to have it on different at different restaurants. Different people will be happy to run those kind of. It was like a Dominica mini BET. But what used to happen? To run that kind of business, it takes a lot of sponsorship. Businesses don't normally spend money in marketing in Dominica. All that comes back to a mindset change. When you look at other countries, a business like that would be flourishing. I mean, yes, you can say Dominica doesn't have the businesses doesn't have enough money to spend, but when you do any business, I'm sure Richie can attest to that. You have to market your business. But in Dominica, a person say for example a person doing a jam, for example, for them to get sponsorship for that jam, they have to, it's like a brain surgery, you know. You have to, it's tough to get some people to come and market their products in your activity. So it,
But yeah, thank you, Carlos. But guys, what I also want us to discuss as well is how do we duplicate the men that you are, right? So we see that men like you come from humble beginnings, and women as well come from humble beginnings, but they are able to rise above their upbringing. So they're able to rise above the challenges, but some young men and some women are unable to do so. So, how do we duplicate your successes to ensure that more of our young men and women are no longer left by the wayside, no longer left to fend for themselves, no longer left to beg for their daily bread? So, I want us to talk about the importance of maybe things like mentorship. How do we mentor these young people so that they're able to see that starting a small business may be an opportunity for them? How can they innovate? How can they become creative so that they can earn an income? Because, just today I was reading a post on social media where this young woman is asking for $4,000 to pay her loans, and she's asking people on Facebook to pay it for her because unfortunately, she only has a part-time job, she has children, and she took the loan. She thought she would be able to pay it, and now she can't. So how do we duplicate your success to secure more financially independent people in Dominica?
But like I said earlier, um, everybody might not have the opportunity of getting land and stuff like I did at the time. But
Mhm,
I went to the farm. I went and I planted cucumbers
mhm,
and I sold those cucumbers. Everybody might not have that big patch of land where some a relative of theirs might just say, "Yo, use my place. Why is I not using it?" kind of scenario. But we all have some form of something, some form of somebody we can relate to, go to get some advice from, because this thing wasn't just I didn't just do this on my own. I had to go to look at other resources. I had to go ask people. I had to go research. I had to go dig into stuff on my own. And we have to have, in order to duplicate me, you have to have that drive. You have to have
mhm,
that passion to want to be successful, to want to have for yourself and for your family. I am not saying that you can't go on Facebook and do as the young lady is doing and ask, but let's say she does ask. And I even did ask when Maria came about. I put up on Facebook that I was in need of stuff to 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 um to get myself together. And what I did with the monies that I received from the people who donated, I went to Guadeloupe via back door. I rented a small fishing boat and I took it over to Guadeloupe, and I bought groceries, and I came back to my community and I opened up a little store and I was selling stuff. And I also donated to certain people who I knew didn't have the funds to buy. But there's you got to be innovative. You got to try different things, and if you ain't trying, you're gonna fail.
mhm.
And I'm telling you, my people, if you don't get nothing from this live here tonight, you have to try. You have to try. I've tried all different kind of things. Anything you think about, I tried already, just to see which thing is gonna make me get over that hump, which thing is gonna take me to the next level. If you ever get anything from me tonight, keep on trying. Don't you ever give up. Don't give up, because
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely. And again, it comes back to what we said in the beginning. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Right? Because if you're surrounding yourself with folks who, are thinking that, they're a victim, they're a victim
Mhm.
of their circumstance, rather than saying, you know what, I want to do better for myself, then that's where you're going to be stuck. But if you choose to surround yourself, join an organization, right? You may not have the role models around you in your immediate environment, but join an organization, join the Cadet Corps, join a youth group, join, we need more men's groups in Dominica, but join the people gather to have positive conversations. So whether it is in a church, whether it is in, maybe your children's schools where you find other dads, find the opportunities to surround yourself with people who maybe think differently from you, who do not think that they are victims, so that you yourself can elevate yourself from beyond where you are. But Carlos, let me come to you. The need for mentorship, the need for, opportunities to duplicate success in Dominica. And then Facebook, I see your comments. I'm going to grab them in a little while.
First off, I'm by no means successful. I've never claimed to be. I'm in Dominica. So
Yeah, she giving it to you, man. She giving it to you.
I'm trying to keep myself as decent as I can within the limited means that's afforded to me. However, I would like to say that persons need to, again, mindset change. We can also look at ways of, when I was coming into the business, there were persons such as Alexander Birmingham. He used to work at Mapping Telecoms. He's from Soufriere. He was one of those that held my hand as a videographer, up and coming videographer, and Linton Joseph, LG Productions. These are all the persons who taught me a lot of the hands-on that I did. So I mean, if persons come to me and they want to learn, the work. A lot of the work has evolved as well. And there's also persons making space for the people coming back there. Because there are guys who are in the industry now and tell me, boy, I remember when you used to do your stuff, and I used to watch certain things you do, and I look up to you. I wouldn't call their names, but there are persons who have come back and tell me that. But you just do things in a way and make space for the person behind it. Just like persons in certain positions in society, different sectors. Is not your father place. They don't die and will it for you. So yes, you get training. Some of them didn't go to school. Yes, you get some training, but you don't have to be there for 20 years, 40 years. When those students that go to school come back, there's no positions for them to fit in and implement some of the new technologies and the new things that they learn in those positions, and then they get frustrated, and then you find you're having a cashier, you're having an entry-level accountant that is highly qualified, or a position come up and nobody cannot apply for it because the persons that are available that came back from school, they are overqualified, or they get frustrated and they go back, or they just don't come back at all because there's nothing for them to do. So we have to look at those different areas, creating opportunities all over all different sectors. You move into something else, those are kind of ways that we can look at, the things that we can look at doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so happy you guys joined me this evening. Carlos, Charles, Ricardo, St. Amy, and we had Jeffrey. We had Jeffrey on before, but he had to catch a flight. So as we talked about, opportunities and challenges for small businesses in Dominica in this ever-changing world, and just looking at the implications of unemployment. And, I think we also have to look at the important roles that we each can play. And I'm happy that we continue having these conversations because it is building a network. It is building a network of people who are saying, you know what, we do not have the luxury of waiting until the political system changes in Dominica. Yes, we have to continue that fight, but we do not have the luxury of waiting because people are suffering on the ground. So we are continuing to build this network of people who are passionate of Dominica, who are turning their passion for Dominica into into action for Dominica, who are able, and I hope one day, I have so many thoughts in my brain, but I'm hoping one day that we can set up a mentorship program using technology so that the folks who are coming on these programs are able to give back to the youth of Dominica, to be an inspiration to them, to be a motivating element to them, to as they continue to look for opportunities to be inspired. And we also cannot downplay the importance of social media to build those networks, because I have to tell you, in the last 5 days, one of my videos on Push Past 10 on Facebook went viral. And I've been able to reach 1,300,000 people with one video. And what that has done, right, is given Push Past 10 the opportunity to reach, because what it does is you have the videos and then you have the reach of your page. So now Push Past 10 has reached 2,300,000 people, and we've secured about 525 more followers. So what does that mean? That means we now have an even broader platform on social media to be able to build that network that we continue to talk about in terms of advancing Dominica. So we are truly excited about the opportunities to continue to grow and to continue to advance Dominica. But let us take a couple of comments before we wind down this evening. And then, guys, I want to come to you for your final thoughts. So we have David Joseph. David, great to see you. He says, Alvin Thomas, the system has let our young people down in so many ways. It seems like they have no future for our young people. Nothing has been put in place over the last 20 years geared towards the elevation of our youth. And then Alvin says, so true. Let's take some comments from folks we haven't heard from. Well, let's take call. Meanwhile, our young men and women are educated from any excluded from any profitable business gain. Our young people, however, need not to be distracted with the freedom to smoke, but rather demand cannabis industries that they can supply with raw material and the entire country can benefit. McLean Leslie, just a question. What's the problem if we have 365 rivers and a lot more freshwater springs, yet we importing water into Dominica? I get so enraged when I think about that. But McLean, thank you for sharing that question. Carl Coffey, did you all hear the cry of this caller? We certainly did. We need to root out the problem in Dominica. Marshall says the caller had so much to say. Hope he's a guest on the program one day. I will invite him, Marshall. I happen to have his phone number, so I will reach out to him. That was Ronnie. Alvin, the diaspora may be an area to raise funding capital to assist small business in Dominica. Absolutely. Carlos mentioned the untapped source of the diaspora, a fund like seed equity funding. Absolutely. Detouche Alfred, I'm watching and listening tonight. More people need to talk about the things that others don't know about. I know lots of people in Dominica who are suffering and afraid to talk out. You are so right. Carl, it goes back to the mindset. We have to reintroduce our youth to the culture of get up and go get it. Absolutely. Form groups, cooperatives, team up with people who are already insight into small business. Peter Carbon, great to see you. The foundation of the Dominican economy is agriculture. I could not agree more. And young people were trained to work on the farm. Construction was undertaken by local contractors, let's stress that, who provided training. Absolutely. And mentorship to the next generation of contractors. And they too say good night to everyone. Just let the intelligence flow. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, guys. So as we get ready to wind down, and again, I want to thank you for joining us for this very powerful and impactful program. And I'm always thinking beyond our program here on Q95. So I'm hoping that once, I find some time to start a mentorship program, that you will join me on that venture. So your final thoughts as we wind down.
I just read a comment there. Lenny Thomas, she said, lots of small businesses, very little money to support them. We have the ability, but not the opportunity. I like that comment right there. We have the ability, just not the opportunity. And if the opportunity presents itself, I think that our young people at the same time we are fighting for, can achieve greatness, but we need that opportunity to present itself. And sometimes it takes somebody speaking, somebody knowing somebody to create that opportunity. So let us try our best as diasporans, as Dominicans, not to give up the fight on our country, for our countrymen, for our young people, for our elderly people, for our country on a whole. And let's just keep on fighting and keep on pushing. One day things will get better. And if you get anything from me tonight, yo, keep on striving, my people. Keep on striving, keep on pushing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And just remind us your contact information, Ricardo, if anyone wants to get in touch with you.
My contact information is you could catch me on Facebook at Ricardo St. Amy on Facebook. And my phone number is 404-519-7629. Or my last name, St. Amy 51 at gmail.com. I'm also live on Facebook. I try to be live on a Wednesday or Monday. So I'm here. Anybody looking for me, you can find me on Facebook and on YouTube as well.
Right. And again, if you don't remember his information, you can always email me at pushpast10@gmail.com, pushpast10@gmail.com for more information. And guys, don't forget, if you've missed any portion of this program, you can always jump on q95da.com from tomorrow. So I know many people who listen are not on Facebook, and that's okay. But you can jump on q95da.com and the program will be available. So if you want to hear the contact information again, you want to listen to a part of the program that you missed, you can check it out tomorrow. Carlos Charles, your contact information and your final thoughts.
Yeah, Carlos, I'm easy to find. Carlos Charles on Facebook, carloscharles@gmail.com, 285-3113. Easy to find.
Absolutely. Your final thoughts.
I'm always online with my party program, usually on Sundays. So you'll find us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, we on various platforms, and also pushing my business. For C Media, you'll find C Media Inc. on Facebook. You'll see us on YouTube. You'll see us on the various platforms. And the site is down right now, but it'll be back up very soon. Trying to get that going. But in terms of thoughts for small business, it's the everything is every most housing homes have been based on small business. So it could be the little sweetie and ice cream shop in La Plaine, or the little lady that's selling a little ice pop in the schools, those kind of things. Or the mother making a little logo, those, all those things are small businesses. We have to start more investing in our small businesses and cross purchase. So Dr. Simone has a juicing business. Support that business. Let's start spending more in our local people. Invest more. For example, this guy who has that juicing, the Cathy, he has a nice juicing business. Then you support. Unless there's other company who they have various corners in Roseau. They sell in their juices. Support those industries, those young and Jody with her natural hair stuff, and the other people with their soaps. We need to continue going and supporting those businesses. I mean, yes, it's tough here. It's a tough industry. I see Ricardo wanted to say something. It's tough here, but let's continue. Can't give up.
You, Ricardo, you wanted to say something?
Anybody? I just wanted to think. Anybody selling CMOS on the live on the following? I'm looking to buy some CMOS. So I up here in the States, I buy CMOS from the islands and I sell it up here. So because CMOS is a lucrative industry here in the States as well. So anybody?
You're talking to produce CMOS?
Hmm?
You're talking to produce CMOS?
Who's that?
The produce CMOS, not
The
the raw,
CMOS from the sea, the
the
raw
raw
material.
material.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The raw material.
well, I have to tell you, Ricardo, because I've been in touch with so many people from doing this program, I have a CMOS person for you. So
Okay.
I will send you her contact information, and that is how we do it. That is how we build the human capacity, right? Through our connections and through our networking. But let me also share Jeffrey's information because he had to leave early. So his website is J as in John, C as in Charles, E as in Edward, Z as in zebra, construction.com. So again, JC EZZ, like we say in Dominica, construction.com. So if you're in the Atlanta area, you're looking to do some remodeling, you're looking to build a new home, then you can certainly check out Jeffrey's business. So again, I want to thank my guests, Jeffrey Cuffey, Ricardo, St. Amy, Carlos Charles. I want to thank Lambi, Sherwin, DJ Shan, the Q95 family, our audience on the radio, Facebook, and YouTube. I want to thank you for being here for this important program as we talked about the challenges and opportunities for small businesses, and we looked at the implication for unemployment. And my final thought, if you're interested in going into a small business, is register your company. So very important. Register your company and keep financial records, because if you want to be seen as a legitimate company, that is what you have to do. And I went ahead and posted the website. I want to thank Afflin Nesty for providing me with the website for how to register your business. So you can jump on pushpast10.com, pushpast10.com, to click on the link that will take you directly to how do you register your company, because that is a very important first step that too many people miss along the way in terms of having a successful business, in terms of having access to financing. You need to have a legit business. So please remember to register your business and keep financial records. So again, it has been great to be here with you for another episode of Roots Connections on Q95. I am Simone Mathieu. I look forward to being in your company in the next 2 weeks, maybe July 14th, for another program where we will tap into the human resources of our Dominican brothers at home and abroad as we continue to explore that perennial question of how do we advance Dominica in so many ways. We have to continue to support the fight for electoral reform. We have to continue to support the fight and the battles that we face in Dominica, but we also must remember to support those who are working to be financially independent, because I say it all the time, when you're financially independent, there are so many other decisions that you are able to take, because you're not relying on a handout, you're not relying on a pal rep for your daily bread. So with that, I wish everyone good evening. Don't forget to check out Push Past 10. We have so much going on. Again, we are very proud that we were able to reach over 2 million in audience on Facebook, and we've grown by another 525 followers. So again, we continue to build the platforms. And that's one of the reasons we're so grateful for Q95 and the reach of Q95 to continue to build a network and everything that it will take to move Dominica forward. So guys, you can unmute your mic, say good night to the audience. Lambi, thank you again. And until we meet again in 2 weeks. You have yourself a wonderful evening. Take care.
Good
Unmute
night,
your mic.
everybody. Thanks for having us. Nice meeting, Richie. Thank you for having me, Dr. Simone, and
Anytime.
of course, the big man at Q95, Daddy. Thanks for the console management, and see you soon.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Blessings, blessings.
Take care.
Very good night.
Bye-bye.
Joe Rastafari. Home, oh, oh, children, home. Wanna go home. Oh, yes, children, home. Got to go. Yeah, we've been trodden from Genesis right on through Revelation. We've been a subject to Master's feet. So blessed, so we wanna go. Yeah, we are a people enslaved and sold, scattered through the earth. Jacob is calling his children 12 tribes, so we want go. Oh, children, home. Oh, to Zion. Oh, wanna go. Take me there. Home. Oh, to Zion. Oh, wanna go. Yeah, we've been trodden from Genesis right on through Revelation. We've been a subject to Master's feet. So blessed, so we wanna go. Oh, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, and Zebulun, Isaac, God and Asher, Naphtali, Joseph, and Benjamin. 12 tribes, so we want go. Oh, children, home. Oh, to Zion, oh, I wanna go. Oh, children, home.